Hi, my name's Rick Yates. I'm Technical Services Manager for GGS Pro in Griffin. Today's video, we're going to talk about the role of fertilizer and plant stretch, and we're going to also at the same time try to clear up some of the myths surrounding phosphorus. There was a time when 20 water-soluble fertilizer ruled the land, and it was thought at that time that the reason that fertilizer would encourage plant stretch was the fact that most of the nitrogen was in the ammoniacal and urea form rather than the nitrate nitrogen form. When the industry switched over to 20 and there was significantly less plant stretch reported, they thought that they were correct in that it was the form of nitrogen that really had a bearing on plant stretch. But while they had reduced the amount of ammoniacal nitrogen, the switch to 20 also cut the amount of phosphorus in half, and research indicated that the level of phosphorus in the fertilizer was the best predictor of whether or not it would encourage plant stretch or not. Some recent research coming out of NC State University has caused us to reevaluate how much phosphorus we're feeding our crops. The information on this slide was adapted from a publication from Joshua Henry and Brian Whifker from North Carolina State University. And as you can see at the top of the slide, even traditional fertilizer rates of 200 parts per million of 20-10-20 are providing enormous amounts of phosphorus with each irrigation. The research that these gentlemen conducted indicate that most of the crops we're growing only need 5 to 10 parts per million phosphorus to have adequate phosphorus for plant growth and blooming. There are a few. They identified 3 crops, mums, petunias, and poinsettias, that would need in the range of 10 to 20 parts per million. Now, as we go north of 20 parts per million, we start to encourage stem elongation, which obviously is a big concern for commercial growers. North of 40 parts per million, we start to run into inhibited growth and even some toxicities. And while it is true that plants do require a minimum amount of phosphorus to grow and bloom properly, there's no evidence to indicate that the so-called blossom booster type fertilizers that provide enormous amount of phosphorus to plants do anything to improve or enhance blooming. There's a downside to all this excess phosphorus. One, it's expensive to provide to the plants and drives up the cost of fertilizer, but also encourages stem elongation, as we saw in the last slide. And last but not least, when this phosphorus makes its way into the waterways, it can enhance algae blooms. It also can lead to a tie-up of micronutrients such as iron, manganese, and zinc. If you have any questions regarding the video today, feel free to contact us at the contact information on this slide. And if you have any ideas for future video topics, please let us know that as well.